Warning: this podcast episode discusses sensitive topics, including mental health, abuse, and suicide. The content may be distressing or triggering for some listeners. If you or someone you know is struggling, please consider seeking support from a mental health professional or contacting a crisis helpline in your area. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Heart to Mic podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Cherono. Here we celebrate the power of authentic conversations, and together we'll explore our emotions, challenges, and growth through powerful storytelling. Guys, we made it to season 2. We made it to season 2. Shout out to consistency. And honestly, I think as I am venturing into this new space, I am learning so many things about myself. And in the process of that, I realized that there's so many things that I've picked up, not only in this pursuit of podcasting, but also just in my 20s generally. And I sort of wanted to share the things that I've learned, the lessons that I'm picking up and still working on as I navigate my 20s. I know that majority of my audience are in their 20s, trying to figure out their life, trying to figure out their career paths, trying to figure out relationships. And I just happen to also be figuring it out as well. So it would be nice for us to exchange notes. And if there's anything that you are, sharing or going through that you think may be valuable to us as, the 20s, it would be nice for you to drop it down in the comment section below. I also just want to say thank you very much for the feedback that I've received from the first season. It's been amazing. It definitely has had its fair share of challenges. But through that process, I have also grown as a person. I've grown with my team. Also, we have a PA now. Cut the cameras, let us. Cut the cameras, let us. Things are moving, and as they move and as they grow, I stay eternally grateful for you guys for making this happen for me, for even giving me the courage to speak and continuing to pour into my cup, that I'm able to come back and pour into yours. So let's get straight into it. There are a few things that I've learned as I navigate my 20s, and I just jotted down 10 points to share. And I'll start with the first one, which I think is something that we all struggle with, which is comparison, and just the idea that you think or you assume that your journey, because you're in the same age group, needs to look like someone else's. I am in a stage in my life where I am finally, I think it's just now that I'm meeting myself. It's now that I am making conversations with myself become more comfortable and more often. And that may come with realizing that some things I'm not doing right, some things I'm not doing well, and also that the way I talk to myself is also very important. I think when you come from the perspective of someone else's story needs to fit into yours, you will always feel like there's something in your life that is lacking. And we're in an era of social media. We're in an era of publicizing our highlights. We're in an era of a lot of people in their 20s are also making it. And it makes you almost feel like if you're not making it in your 20s, then ni kama umeachwa nyuma. You've been left behind, for those ones who are not Kenyan or don't speak Swahili. And it's easy to feel like other people are doing better when you look at things on a surface level. I have realized that even as people are progressing in their careers, people are progressing in their relationships, they may be aside to that story, to that aspect of their life that we may not be conversant with, because not all that glitters is gold. Shout out to the first episode of season 1. We are looking at a lot of the things that we consume on the internet at face value. And one of the reasons why I decided to start the podcast is more so to share what happens behind the scenes. It's not always as glamorous as we see it on social media. And you can draw inspiration, you can draw some sort of guidance or some sort of similarities in the path that you want to follow based on the people that you admire. But to almost talk to yourself in a way that makes you feel like you're doing less is where I think we go wrong. They literally say comparison is a thief of joy, because in the moment, if I even sit down right now, there's so many things I am grateful for. Number one, we're in a new location. There's a bigger crew, there's better help, there's better quality, there's things that we have improved in. There's new partners, like we are now working with your host, BNB. And with that, there are things I can be grateful for. In this moment, I'm alive, I'm well, I'm here, I'm looking healthy, and that is something that I've realized brings me back to reality in a sense. It is counting my blessings literally one by one. And it might be in the most minute things, but when you find yourself comparing, give yourself the grace of not knowing the full story and realizing that there's probably parts of this story that you really admire and you want to replicate that you may not know about. We also don't know how long it may have taken them to get to that point. We don't know the sacrifices that they've made to get to that point. And not unless you're in close proximity with these people, you will not be privy to all the information that actually carries their story. So if you are able to, on a day-to-day, counteract your negativity with positive thoughts and actually sitting in a space and a headspace of gratitude, I think that sort of brings you back to like some sort of center. And also, people make it in different ages in their lives. I think even as we speak, I know people in their 50s, in their 30s, in their 40s who have just started therapy, who have just found themselves, who have finally found their identity, who have figured out how to say no in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s. The people who are now in their 50s starting their careers and realizing that maybe what they've been doing all their life has not been pleasing them, but has been pleasing the public or the families or the friends or society. And your journey may not look like yours. Again, I always say, God, there's a reason why God makes one of one, because your path is just yours. And to think that He made a mistake while making you is also just disservice to God Himself. So stay grateful, and yes, you can pick up things that you want to admire, but let it not get to a place of obsession where if at all this does not work out the way it has worked out for this person, then I'm not doing enough. That's my first one. The second one, embrace change. I don't know why we are actually here that we're going to be the same people that we were when we were kids. I've realized that every single day I am changing. Every single day my opinions are changing. Every single day my heart posture is changing. Every single day my taste in things are changing. Every single day my preferences are changing. And when you're stuck thinking that this is exactly how my life would go, like for instance, our parents have fed us with the narrative of you finish high school, you go to uni. You finish uni, you get a job. You finish job, the right thing to do after getting a job is to get married. You finalize your marriage, you get kids. You finish having your kids and now you stay in the process of raising kids. I don't know why we don't think about the fact that even in these different phases of our lives, we are changing and our opinions will change, especially based on the fact that our environment is changing and the information that we are consuming is also very vast, right? So give yourself the grace to allow yourself to change, because even in this moment, I'll tell you an example. I've realized that I am, quote unquote, I've been described as Stefana Kwanga Mkali. And initially, I took pride in that. I took pride in knowing that I stand on business. And then I realized that we need compassion. We need compassion, guys. We need, in as much as I can set my boundaries, and this can even be contrary to the things that I said in season 1, because again, I have changed. You understand where I'm going with this? It's like my opinions regarding me being Mkali have now made me think, what could be the potential damage that I may have caused in the pursuit of staying Mkali? Is there someone else? Is there someone's feelings, opinions, or just day that I may have ruined just because I was delivering a message or information in a certain way? I think my therapist told me that in as much as you're stern, you're assertive, you can also add compassion into your delivery. That is a change that I'm accommodating right now. It is also realizing that the reason why I behave the way I do has a lot to do with how I've been raised. And I can change that and accommodate a new perspective. You can also change your career. You can diversify. You can change the type of men you date. You can also change your environment. You can decide to move out. You can decide to relocate, which is also something I'm really thinking about. But it is the grace to allow yourself to morph into different versions of yourself in each season, depending on what the variables are in your environment. So it's also accepting that this is a season of our lives where things are maybe quite uncertain. You don't have the answers for everything in your 20s. You may have a plan, you may have an idea of how you want things to go, but like more often than not, they don't turn out like that. For instance, I can give another example. I had thought by now I'd have probably opened my own makeup shop. I'd have probably have a couple of shops or have employees and whatnot. But my love for makeup, I'm getting to the 10-year like itch. I've been doing makeup since I was 18. I'm turning 28 next year. Crazy. What? Wild business. Yuck. Also, I'm changing my idea of age slowly but surely. But like I'm getting older, and my priorities are changing. My love for the things I loved are changing. The way I want to also deliver, pursue, and maintain the love I have for makeup has changed. I wanted to have a school. I wanted to have a shop. I wanted to continue practicing, but now my creative needs, my career needs, the things I've envisioned for myself have changed, meaning I've gone back to the drawing board and accommodated a new reality. Again, the uncertainty of life is there, but you take it a day at a time, and also be in the moment and be present as all these things are happening. All right. Another one that is obviously very common, and I don't even know why I would not mention it in this podcast, is invest in your mental health. If you lose your mind, you will lose your life. That's just the basis of it. And I've realized that perspective is very important. I'm someone who, even in the recent past, to as recent as last week, realized that I panic. I go 0 to 100. Like when something doesn't work out, I'm just like, oh God, oh God, oh God. For instance, we were supposed to shoot in a different location. We got to this location this morning at 6 in the morning. But I realized that even in the transition and in the change of locations, I didn't panic. And that was a big one for me. Like I noticed that there was significant change in that. Why? Because there's been practice, and the fact that I'm aware of the fact that I panic when things don't go well, and knowing that that is attached to my need for control, is because I've invested in my mental health. I got a therapist. I decided to discuss the issues that I'm going through. I decided to get the tools and information that I need to navigate the voices in my head, to navigate the things that I have gone through in my life, and how to just be a better person regardless of my circumstances. And that goes down to how I respond to problems, how I respond to disagreements, even in my relationships, in my friendships, how I choose to still navigate my life in the event that there are certain things that are not going well, and knowing that the two realities can coexist for me. You can be having a bad day, but also something good can happen regardless of having a bad day. You can also not be going through the best season in your career, but your family is doing well. And knowing that both realities can exist allows me to also experience joy, as opposed to allowing one thing to be the umbrella of my day and overly consume how I think about things and just rob me of the joy of life. So investing in your mental health and having a therapist, and just ways to do that can be meditating, journaling, or just engaging in activities that literally put your mind at ease, is something that is very important in this season. Because if you don't have that, again, your mind can turn into your enemy real quick. So invest in your mental health. I used to take pride in being a loner, but I've realized community is everything. You can't do this life on your own. And I was literally even just telling my PA this morning that I've had trust issues for the longest time, that I thought I would never get anyone who would see my vision, my career, the things I pour into, and my life generally with as much interest as I do. I didn't think that I would find a team that would invest as much as I'm investing in the output of what I want to do. I didn't think I would get to a space where I would let go and delegate. And these relationships may not necessarily just be romantic or friendships. It's literally building relationships with every single person that is around you. And in the process of that, practicing a lot of kindness. Again, we don't know what any of these people are going through, but just having some sort of basis, which is for me, kindness, and just being a human as you're navigating this life, is very important. And through that process, you will build relationships with people that will sort of, in a way, come through for you, even when you least expect it, We're about to be squandered for money the other day. We went to Naishola to shoot for a video, and tumekula nyama choma, na sijawahi sikia bill nyama choma unaambiwa 15K. Tumekula nyama choma. We finished shooting, and I went with my production team and the guys for the drone, Mike and Joe, and I was like, simkule nyama, we kula ugali. After that, guys, just go home and sleep, right? And I think I take I take it very seriously when it comes to feeding the crew. You cannot be standing behind the camera for hours and I've not fed you. It's just unfair. Again, my mother taught me better than that. And if at all she knew or a whiff of the fact that no one around me is being fed, my friend, you maneno napigwa hata with this big age neza chapwa. You understand? So we went to some local tukakula nyama, and then this guy brought me a bill saying nyama choma, ugali, kachumbari, 15,000. And I'm telling you, I reacted, yes. I reacted and I was upset. But the people who handled that situation was the crew, was the production team. And if at all we didn't get to a space where our relationship was that close and intimate for them to know that they can take up certain things and certain battles for me, then probably ningelipa 15K. You understand? Okay, singelipa though. But like, I would have had a different approach as to how I would have dealt with this thing. But wanaume walisema we got this. And they went and dealt with it and ended up paying quite literally probably more than half of what that amount was. And that is only because I've built relationships with them. It might be a minute example, but for me, it meant so much in that moment because I was like, this is so dope that these people actually care about me so much. They're like, sit down, we're going to handle it. Tutakuja na bill ingine. And they actually came with a different bill. And that goes down also to friendships and relationships. I would urge you guys to also put ego aside as you're building these relationships. Take pride out of the equation. You'll experience highs and lows in your friendships. You'll experience highs and lows in your relationships. But ego cannot be part of the equation. Pride cannot be part of the equation. You have to almost in a way put yourself in this other person's shoes. And I think I've realized that the relationships that I have are so important to me that I cannot afford to be prideful. I cannot afford to think that I'm better than. I cannot afford to think that, I cannot double text. That's the day I double texted a friend of mine and I talked to another friend and I was like, can you imagine I double texted? Guy, what is this? And then I realized that it's a pride thing, like, why would I not double text my friend that I love, that I care for, without thinking that, I'm making a fool of myself? It's because of the toxic relationships that I've been in the past that are making me project this idea of double texting. And there's nothing wrong with double texting, even triple texting. If this someone is someone you care about and there is care being reciprocated and maybe you're just going through a rough patch, it is okay to reach out to them 3-4 times, to call them, to even be the one to call and initiate conversations, because more often than not, we want the other person to make the effort. You can also make the effort. So that is how I've realized that I've navigated through very tough seasons of my life because of community and because of the relationships that I have. And I think that's a very important bit in your 20s. Hey, let's talk about risk-taking. Even this podcast in itself was a risk. And I've realized that in your 20s, it is a time to take the risks. It's a time to step out of your comfort zone. Why? Because you're physically able to in this season, because you can afford it in this season. And I can afford it not financially, but you can afford it because of the almost less responsibilities that you have before you build families and like you get into bigger roles in your career, or you're taking up different responsibilities in your family. You're taking care of your parents. Now you can do it. Now you can start the podcast. Now you can pursue the relationship. Now you can relocate. It is knowing that the time genuinely is now in your 20s, as difficult as it may be, shooting that shot at that career, at that job that you've been eyeing, trying out a different skill, getting into videography, photography. Get a drone and start learning how to fly a drone. This is the time for those things. Again, because you are in a space where you can, and your body can do those things. And also you can train your mind to also fail and try again, fail and try again. You will get to a space where in your 50s, in your 60s, in your 70s, or even later on, you're not physically able to do the things that we're able to do now. I believe health is wealth. And also being young comes with the fact that we don't necessarily have health issues. And if we do, then they are not as complex as those ones that we do get with age, So this is the time to take risks. This is the time to just put fear aside and allow yourself to step into a space that is uncomfortable. Again, make discomfort your friend in your 20s. You cannot run from the fact that this feels new to me. This feels uncomfortable to me. If anything, this is a time to do all the things that are uncomfortable to do. I'm recently back in the dating space. Hey, no, when you're in this space is when by the way, Uko na trauma. Isn't it gani? Like you're projecting your insecurities, you're projecting these things, but I've taken the risk to put myself out there only because I want to meet that version of myself. I want to see what it takes to actually be in a healthy relationship and not just vocally, it is being in that space, being in the discomfort of having these uncomfortable conversations and actually being vulnerable with the weaknesses, with the fears that you have, and pursuing that in a healthy way. It is so uncomfortable, I won't even lie, but I've made peace with the discomfort at this point. I've made discomfort my friend, because only in those spaces is when you actually get to grow. Only in those spaces, because of the resistance between the person that you are and the person you're trying to become, the difference is growth. The thing that you gain in that process is just growing into becoming a better person, growing mentally, growing your muscle in regards to the risks that you're taking, growing your muscle in regards to like being in now healthier relationship as opposed to being in the toxic ones where you'd let things slide and all those things. So take risks in every single aspect of your life. Okay. This one is a big one because I'm in the season of money, I'm in the season of figuring out how to invest, how to save, how to manage, how to grow. You need to learn about finances right now, guys. This is the time, because you're about to step into a season where if at all you don't have good money habits, you can either make it or just lose your life. This is the season. And I know, again, I think I mentioned that as I was introducing my partnership with Loop, shout out to NCBA Loop, is we don't have these conversations in African households. We don't. They just expect you to have the money. They expect you to get the job. They expect you to be as financially independent as they were at your age, but without the information that actually supports that cause. They don't tell us, aya, ukundo kuna bonds, this is what bonds are, this is what stocks are, this is where you could do trading. They don't tell us these things, but the expectation of us to be as successful, if not more successful than them, is still there. If anything, the pressure to be that is even higher, but it is our responsibility to get the information that we need, and everything is online. Centonomy exists for that particular purpose. Shout out to Centonomy as well. There is different influencers that actually are, and platforms that are centered around money. Financially Incorrect, for instance, which is another podcast that I really, really enjoy. And using personal stories and people who are familiar faces to us or people we admire in the industry to tell us the stories as to how they've gotten to a place of financial independence can be a way to sort of get entertainment, but also get knowledge at the same time. Because also it doesn't have to be boring, You can find ways to make it fun and also make it easier and accommodative to your schedule, to your pay grade, to your lifestyle, as opposed to the way our parents used to put, money in your mattress. We don't need to be doing that anymore. Like, there's different ways you can save money as opposed to hiding it and having this scarcity mindset of like, kama sitaitumia sahi or kama sitai-save sahi, I will never get any. I think change even how your money mentality, change how you think about money. Think about the abundance of it. And if at all I've made this much now, how much more can I make? If it's being privy to certain opportunities, for sure, I'm going to make more money. Kama sahi nilikuwa na production team, niko na pesa yenu. Hey, niko na pesa, niko na madeni. Like, you think I'm thinking about them, they'll be paid. I don't know when, but they'll be paid. Like I know that even for God to allow me to be in this space of shooting another season, he knows that the money for this season, he got it. You understand? And it is only coming from a place of we don't want to be dependent on our parents when they should have retired. They should be resting. They should be actually benefiting from the efforts that they made in our lives. We don't want to be those people who are still hanging on to the cloth of our parents when we're in our 30s and our 40s. And in the event that happens, God forbid, and knock on wood, it would be still great if you have the information about money, regardless of whether you've made it or not. Like, you'll still have that knowledge of where I can get money, how I can diversify my finances, etc. Only because you'll have already invested in it in your 20s. So learn about money and change your money habits as well. We are not constantly, like I said in the episode with Chebet, we are not constantly healing our inner child. Like, at this point, I think we somewhat use it as an excuse to just poor money decisions, because you're like, oh, I'm buying this bag because as a child I didn't get a bag. You didn't need a bag, Chomi. You didn't need a bag. You didn't need a handbag. You didn't need the heels. You understand? It needs to fit in the budget. The hair needs to fit in the budget. The nails need to fit in the budget. The lunch with your friend needs to fit in the budget. This thing for just being, I'm spontaneous. Not in this economy, child. You know what is happening in our country as we speak. You cannot afford to be spontaneous. And if you can't, then kudos to you for making it to a space where you can afford it. But like, if you're in your 20s and you're trying to build your wealth, then you need to be very strategic as to where your money is going. And almost nyima yourself these experiences with the anticipation of knowing that you'll get to a space where you will experience them and experience them in luxury level because you would have invested well. Wink, wink. Hey, this one is a big one for me as well. Accept that mistakes will be made. You will go back to the egg some point until you learn how to actually stand up for yourself. You will say yes so many times until you learn how to say no. You will go back to just a negative or a bad work environment for as long as you believe you're deserving of it. Until you change, it is just a part of life. Mistakes are there to be made. However, I realize that you can make mistakes as many times as possible, but you cannot make the same mistake more than a certain amount of times, which is like when I said in the episode with Chebet is, I give myself 3 chances to go back to the ex. 1, 2, 3. Give myself 3 chances of not standing up for myself. Give myself 3 chances of allowing someone to talk to me in a certain way or things to go in a certain way. And then you just have to stand on business. Even that process of making a mistake, it is to give yourself the grace. Again, I think everything just comes from the mind. Even as you're making these mistakes, how are you talking to yourself as you're making the mistakes? Are you just like, oh, fuck, Steph, here we go again. You made the mistake again. You nini again. No. The relationship we have with self and the talks and the tone that we use while navigating mistakes is also very important, because I think I've made peace with the fact we're human beings. It's literally in the Bible. Like, we are born to sin. So how do you expect yourself not to sin, not to gossip, not to be jealous, not to compare, it will happen. But how aware are you of it, and what are you doing to make it better? Just make peace with the fact that as a human being, human is to error. You will make mistakes and you will fall short of God's glory often. But guess what? He expects it. And that's why his grace is sufficient. He expects it from us. However, he doesn't expect any level of perfection of you saying, oh, I could never. Also, by the way, wacha niwaambie sai, msiwahi sema never, tafadhali, because the things that I've said, oh, I would never do that. I've done them. I've ended up there. Never say never is the thing. Oh, please, never say never. Never assume that, oh, it has happened to someone else, it can never happen to you. It can. Or someone allowed themselves to, it can happen to you. Regardless of how you respect them, how you value them, how, you admire them, there are also things that they struggle with. So never say never. Never say, this is bigger than me, or this is smaller than me, or this person could just never. The word never should just not be in your vocabulary. Okay. Discover your purpose slowly. Also, I don't know why people assume that purpose is one thing, I think for me, one of the things that I think is my purpose is literally lighting up the rooms that I walk into. I think my energy is just so loud and infectious. I just like seeing smiles on people's faces. I like cracking jokes. I like making people comfortable. I think I was telling my PA in the morning, I'm like, these people are crackheads. We are all crackheads. You're going to be fine. Like, you're going to be fine. This is a safe space. Kuna kila mtu akona shida zake. Rono said, wazimu iko kila pahali. It exists in the Hard to Make podcast as well. Like, it is just the diversity of what purpose can look like. It can be that, like lighting people's rooms, the rooms that you walk into. It can be kindness. You can just have a soft, very calming, energy that even if you don't say a word, that in itself, in a way, manifests in people's life, and they're just like, wow. I feel so calm around you. I feel such a warm sense of energy when you walk into the room. And that in itself can be your purpose in their life in that moment. It doesn't have to be one thing. Also, it doesn't have to be tied to your career as well. But allow yourself to discover those things pole pole. You don't need to also have it all figured out right now. You don't need to know when you're gonna get married right now, if you're gonna get married, when you're gonna be making the millions. You can have a plan, but allow yourself to uncover these things a day at a time. I think I wrote here, it often comes from living authentically, following your passions, and being open to new directions as you grow. Because, see, I didn't think that I would be a podcaster. Although I'm a yapper, reporting live. I'm a yapper, but like I didn't think podcasting would be something that I'd venture into. Also because like I enjoyed being on the receiving end of the information that comes through podcasts. I didn't think I'd be part of the people who would share, but now I happen to be in a space where I am part of the people who share because finally I've gotten to make peace with the fact that my story actually carries value and my opinion and my voice carries value on this earth. And because of that, I've been given the chance to step into this, but also stepping into it authentically. I didn't want to copy and paste someone else's idea and be like, oh, I want to do it like this. I didn't know that I want to do seasons because I bulk shoot, but I wasn't necessarily pegged on it needs to be like so and so's podcast. It needs to be like this and this and this. And I was also having the same conversation with my PA earlier and telling her, I know the things that I could potentially do, say, and the spaces I could venture into or the conversations I could venture into that would 100% go viral. You understand? I know them. Do I want to do them? Not necessarily. I think I am someone who goes with the flow and the seasons of life. And in this season of my life, these are the things that I would like to share and the things that I'm learning. And even maybe as I grow older and as we grow as a podcast and as a platform, those things will change in the event that other variables, people, things, situations, or experiences are added into my life, And to live authentically is to be the same person behind closed doors that you are once you leave that door. That is very important. I am the same person I am in the house by myself, that I am right now in the presence of people, that I am on social media, that I am on YouTube. And that will make it very easy for you to step into certain spaces because you're not changing. We are not expecting something new. Like we know Cherono will probably crack a joke here and there. Cherono is very emotional. Cherono will probably cry after watching one movie that she's watched 1,000 times, but she knows what's gonna happen, but she's still gonna cry regardless. Like it's those things. It's Cherono is gonna make sure that she's just kidogo banta, we laugh, like chongwa you a bit, just be in the moment. That is who Cherono will be described as. Cherono now is also just figuring out the things that yes, are authentically me, but are not good for me and changing them in the process. Yeah, so give yourself grace, give yourself pace and just allowing yourself to morph, but morph slowly. Also, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is that $1 million company that you want to build. It won't be built in a day. That relationship that you want to get to a level of healthiness won't be built in a day. That business that you're working on won't be built in a day. If anything, marvel at the fact that because it's taken time, you will have a great story to tell once you tell the story. So, pole pole ndo mwendo. Haraka haraka. Haina baraka, guys. Finally, I've come to use that after high school. But yeah. Trust in God's timing. And we can say this every day, we can preach, we can say all these things, but generally trust in God's timing, sorry. I realized that when things are going well, you're like, oh my God, God loves me, isn't he? I manifested this, I prayed for this. Where does that energy go when bad things happen? Why do we think that God has not allowed them to happen for the sake of you to learn something new? In the point I said, life rarely unfolds the way we plan. But learning to trust that everything happens in God's time brings peace amidst of uncertainty. Delays and setbacks will often happen, but they'll be there to prepare you for something greater. I genuinely believe that when we go through those storms, there's something there to learn. There's something there to pick up. There's something will be made known to in the process of those storms. I am one person who have now in this year, other than the economy, the government, and all these things, I have genuinely had to trust God. Nasiati, because, and I think we sometimes think God is someone for tit for tat. Like the only reason why he will bless you is because you've been praying 5 times a day and you were fasting yesterday and then you went and gave tithe all your money, you give him the money. No, 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 no. I think we need to understand that God operates all the time from a level of love and grace, regardless of whether you are sinning, regardless of whether you've paid tithe, regardless of whether you're doing the right thing or not. If anything, I think more often than not, we say, na mbona huyu mtu ako na pesa mingi na venye ni mtu mbaya? Because God is God. Like he will still provide them with the blessings that they are meant to have, regardless of the fact that they have fallen short of his glory. And I've had to, in this year, generally, I've had to trust God. I've had to trust God in my friendship. I've had to trust God in my relationship with my mom, in my relationship with my siblings. I've had to trust God in literally even heart to mic. Even if I am not seeing, I think we assume that, you start a podcast, it goes viral. No. I've had to also trust that this is a slow and steady growth because I'm stepping into a new place. I've had to trust God for finances, literally, and he always comes at the last hour, which I don't really like, but I don't have a choice. Why? Because we're trusting God. Like it's a thing that you have to do every day, that you have to have hope. I think Murugi said it in It's Related, I Promise, that fortune favors the brave. You have to. You have to. You can't stay in a space of thinking of the lack of. It is, what if this works out? What if you step in this relationship? He may not be your type. He may not be the person you'd go for. But what if it works out? What if it ends up going well? And even if it doesn't, what if this ends up being the healthiest relationship that I'll be in that will set precedence of the next relationship? What if this is the bare minimum that I'm yet to experience? And then after that, I will learn something new about myself. Now that I've lost my job, what if I lost the job because another opportunity is coming my way? As opposed to sitting in sorrow and assuming, oh my God, here we go again. What if genuinely it all works out? Why don't we actually think about it like that? And it's a thing that you have to think and talk about every day. I think the prayer that I've incorporated this year is, may God please make your presence known to me in every single thing that I experience today, every single person that I talk to today, every single room that I walk in today. And in that minute things, I do experience God's presence. I always do. Every single day I do. I experience favor in one way or another. And I found that even when things are not working out, I will still trust that God has a plan for me in this season. And I've realized that for me, being in a space of worship, especially when things are going south, there's so many times when I'm driving at 4 a.m. to go to the gym that I am crying. Yani nasi ile kulia ni kama umefiwa. Like I am in tears, horrific, because I am now vulnerably sharing that, God, it's tough right now. But as you can see, I am trying. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to try and have a good day. Please, by the time I'm even leaving the gym, that this sense of heaviness, this weight that I'm feeling in my heart can be lifted off. And more often than not, it always does. I always end up feeling better, not only because of the adrenaline, but also because of the prayer that I've made on my way to the gym, which is why I really love that 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. period. I'm not a perfect Christian, far from it. I'm not even a perfect person generally. Like, I'm still figuring it out, but I find a sense of peace when I put worship music, and I may not even have the words at that moment to pray, but I put worship music and I stay in the stillness of God, and for real, I get peace. So try that. Regardless of your religion, regardless of your situation and your relationship with God at the moment, just know he still loves you and he will be there for you. It's just for you to take that first step of trying and trusting that whatever plan he has over your life is the best plan that you could have ever asked for. The last one, practice self-love. Jipende sis. Jipende. And I've realized that whenever personally for me, I'll speak from a personal perspective, the seasons where I've poured into myself, imagine people notice it. I don't even know how. Like, hey, Steph, you're glowing different. Hey, you look like something. Is there a man in your life? No, it's Jesus Christ. I promise you, there's no man in this Nairobi who's doing this. It's the Lord Jesus Christ. And it's because why? You pour into yourself. And pouring into yourself, it does not look like getting your nails done. Those things are good, getting your nails done, getting your hair done, getting your skincare products in check, but also genuinely pouring into self. The things that you expect of people, give yourself first. The expectation of, this person comes to my life to pour for me and do these things and feel this need of happiness, do that for yourself first. Number one, watch how you talk to yourself. because you cannot expect the public to think that you're beautiful, you're worthy, that you're stunning, you're amazing, you have a great personality if you don't think that of yourself. Sasa sisi tutaionaje kama we mwenyewe hauioni, practice that thing every day. Counteract negativity with positivity. Make sure that at the very least that you're working for yourself in regards to the decisions that you make before you'd want to please other people. And this is where even that need for people pleasing comes in, because you can please everyone else and they do not owe you anything. Genuinely, I don't even know why we do it, because at the end of the day, watalana hawakujui wamesha kusahau. So if you're constantly, if the center of your life is others and not you, you will constantly be at loggerheads with life and people and experiences, because at the focal point, it is not you, it is other people. So you need to be your own center. And by that, you need to like the skin that you're in. If anything, love the skin that you're in. Love the body that you're in. Love the environment your space that you live in. Be proud of the fact that ulikuwa kwa bedsitter, sasa uko kwa one bedroom. Na yenye hata iko na balcony. Watajuaje uko kwa balcony umepiga picha ka selfie? Be proud of that. You are walking in a house that was cold because haukuwa na carpet. Sasa uko na carpet. You understand? You probably bought your first wig. Yes, you're in need for another one, but can we appreciate the fact that you got the first one as well? It is staying in a space of gratitude, staying in a space of like affirmations. I am beautiful. And yes, not I'm a beautiful and proud. I as Stephanie, I am absolutely stunning. Like, I have a great personality. I have great fashion sense. But also at the core of who I am, I'm a great person. Like, I'm a good person. I have good intentions. And regardless of what others may think of me, I know that about myself. So their insecurities, their opinions, their judgment cannot influence me. They can hurt me a little bit for a day, but I know who I am. And because I know who I am at the core, all these other things just work in my favor in a way, because I'm also living authentically as myself. So navigating your 20s, I think, is the foundation of your life. Now is the time to set precedents of who you want to become and where you want to go. And I hope in this season, with the information that we have, we're going to have therapists, we're going to have men to have conversations in different forms and different topics to help us navigate our 20s, to help us find some sort of light in regards to like where we are going, how it looks like, and how best we can do this thing called adulting, But yeah, I'm looking forward to season 2. Season 2 is going to be great. It's going to be diverse. It's going to be new. It's going to be widespread in regards to like the information we provide and the people that we bring forth. But I'm happy to be here. This is like literally the light of my day because there's so many things happening in my life right now. But again, I'm finding joy in the smallest things, like being able to start a new season. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you liked it. Subscribe. If you are in your 20s or if you're older and you're watching this, please drop some gems for us in the comment section. We will for sure appreciate it because I think all of us are just trying to make it through. And don't forget to like, subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify and Apple. We're working on expanding our horizon in regards to like where our podcast is going to be available. And I hope that you extend us the grace as we navigate this. But yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Nawapenda sana. Shangwe na vigelegele for episode 1, everybody.